John Brooks, Business Adventures. Step into the fascinating world of Wall Street and high-stakes industries with John Brooks' insightful book, Business Adventures. This collection of captivating stories delves into the tumultuous events of the 20th century financial market, revealing the irrational behavior of Wall Street bankers, major corporate debacles, and the unexpected factors that drove company successes and failures. From the 1962 flash crash to the disaster of the Ford Edsel, Brooks unravels the complex world of finance and corporations, shedding light on the psychological and societal factors that often steer events in unpredictable directions.
The unpredictable mood of Wall Street. In just 3 days in 1962, the stock market experienced a flash crash followed by a full recovery, all due to the irrational behavior and mood swings of Wall Street bankers. This event showcases how the financial market is driven more by emotions than facts, resulting in its inherent unpredictability. On a seemingly ordinary day, May 28, 1962, Wall Street was down in the dumps after 6 months of declining stock market numbers. As manual stock price updates lagged behind 45 minutes, the central office was unable to keep up with the morning stock trading frenzy. This delay caused investors to panic, fearing that their stock's real-time value had plummeted. In response, they hastily sold off their shares, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that led to a crash wiping out $20 billion in stock value. Strangely enough, the same emotional forces that caused the crash also led to the market's recovery. Investors widely believed that the Dow Jones Index, a general stock market value indicator, could not dip below the 500-point mark. So, when the index value approached this threshold, a buying frenzy ensued with expectations that stock prices would rebound. Within 3 short days, the market had fully recovered, leaving many to wonder what had just transpired. In the aftermath of this whirlwind event, rational explanations were sought by stock exchange officials. Their conclusion was that the government should pay closer attention to the business climate in the financial market, which was essentially a vague term for the mood and irrational expectations of its participants. The key takeaway from this roller coaster ride is that emotions and irrationality drive the market, making it highly unpredictable. As famously stated by banker J.P. Morgan, the only certainty about the market is this: it will fluctuate. Ford Edsel's spectacular failure. The Ford Edsel was once envisioned as Ford's flagship product in the late 1950s, but it ended up becoming one of the most significant and visible product failures in history. Despite Ford's immense financial investment of $250 million in the project, the Edsel failed for 3 main reasons: a miscalculated market, unrealistic customer expectations, and poor build quality. Ultimately, the Edsel couldn't live up to the hype and remains a cautionary tale for companies today. In the mid-1950s, the American automobile market was thriving, with families spending more and showing greater interest in medium-priced cars. Ford saw an opportunity to break into this segment and began planning the Ford Edsel. However, by the time the Edsel launched in 1958, the market had turned on its head. An economic downturn and changing consumer preferences led people to gravitate towards smaller, cheaper vehicles instead. Adding to the Edsel's misfortune, Ford's extensive marketing surrounding the project created impossibly high expectations. Consumers eagerly anticipated a revolutionary car, only to discover that the Edsel was just another average vehicle. This widespread disappointment contributed significantly to the Edsel's downfall. Lastly, despite Ford's considerable investment in research and marketing, the company failed to invest in the most crucial aspect of any car: quality. Eager to make the Edsel appealing to the target demographic of young families with disposable income, Ford's efforts focused on psychological research. This decision came at the cost of fine-tuning the car's technical aspects, leading to a vehicle laden with problems. Customers quickly noticed issues ranging from unreliable brakes to unpredictable acceleration. The Ford Edsel may not have been entirely without merit, but it was far from the game-changer that it was initially intended to be. Today, the Edsel serves as a powerful reminder for companies to strike a careful balance between generating excitement and ensuring a quality product that meets or exceeds customers' expectations. Unraveling the unfair tax system. Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people on earth, shockingly reveals that his tax rate is lower than his secretary's. This example underscores the U.S. federal income tax system's inherent injustice. Since its initiation in 1913, the tax system has devolved from targeting mainly the rich to primarily impacting the middle-class population, all the while generating more loopholes for the wealthy. The tax's current structure creates inefficiency, encourages tax evasion, and leads to wasted resources. However, tax reform has proven politically impossible due to the insistence of affluent individuals favoring the status quo. Ideally, a solution would involve resetting the federal income tax system to its original 1913 state for a fresh start. As baffling as it may seem, Warren Buffett, one of Earth's richest individuals, confesses that his tax rate is actually lower than his secretary's, who earn significantly less. This glaring truth perfectly illustrates the unjust nature of the U.S. federal income tax system. To grasp the severity of the issue, one must delve into the tax system's history and its subsequent transformation since 1913. After immense debate and accusations of socialism, the federal government kickstarted income taxation in 1913 to balance their shrinking income and growing expenses. Although initially directed towards the wealthiest citizens, income tax rates have since skyrocketed and started enveloping an increasingly wider demographic, all while creating various loopholes for the rich. Consequently, today's income tax rates have hit the middle-class population the hardest. Furthermore, the current tax structure promotes inefficiency and evasion, as even freelancers might refuse additional contracts to avoid being taxed on higher income. The complex system of loopholes turns tax enforcement into a never-ending struggle between the Internal Revenue Service and tax advisors and lawyers. Political attempts to simplify the tax code have failed, as influential wealthy individuals resist losing their advantageous position, like having their capital gains taxed less than salary income. The ideal solution would scrap the present tax system and reset it to its original form in 1913, facilitating a chance to rebuild a fairer system. Texas Gulf, insider trading revealed. Your uncle's advice to invest in his company using exclusive knowledge may land you in hot water today, but decades ago, things were different. In 1959, Texas Gulf Sulfur struck a massive mineral deposit, igniting a groundbreaking court case that would redefine insider trading. The company's executives attempted to cash in on their secret, manipulating the market by spreading misinformation while buying shares at a lower price. This scandal, ultimately slammed by the courts, became a cautionary tale that helped reshape Wall Street regulations and crack down on deceptive trading practices. In 1959, Texas Gulf Sulfur struck gold, or rather, a fortune in copper, silver, and other minerals in the Canadian wilderness. Those privy to this discovery kept mum, slyly acquiring the company's shares for themselves and their families. Word of a potential find leaked out, but Texas Gulf downplayed the rumors with a press conference filled with misleading information. Meanwhile, those in the know continued to buy up shares at a bargain. The company finally announced their astounding discovery, and stock prices soared, making the secretive buyers impressively wealthy. This deception might have gone unnoticed in the past, but the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, was quick to step in, accusing Texas Gulf of insider trading and fraud. The case caused a massive uproar among investors, who felt cheated and deceived. The trial hinged on the question of whether Texas Gulf's test drilling results were conclusive enough to boost the stock's value and if the company's misleading press releases were intentional. Ultimately, the court sided with the SEC, issuing a guilty verdict for Texas Gulf. The court stressed the importance of giving the public a reasonable opportunity to react to news affecting stock prices before insiders could trade. This landmark case set the stage for tighter regulation on insider trading, discouraging corporate deception and promoting fairer market practices. Since then, Wall Street has cleaned up its act, ensuring that those seeking a quick fortune through underhanded means face appropriate consequences. Xerox's roller coaster ride. In the 1960s, despite initial opposition, Xerox's introduction of plain paper photocopying machines propelled the company to market leadership, accruing revenues of $500 million within 6 years. The company's philanthropic endeavors, such as supporting the University of Rochester and the United Nations, followed. However, by 1965, Xerox faced significant challenges as competitors produced cheaper products and investments in research and development failed. This journey exemplifies the ups and downs that growth companies may experience, with Xerox ultimately surviving and remaining successful today. In an era where people were skeptical about document copying and only treated paper copy machines existed, Xerox dared to introduce the first plain paper photocopier in 1959. Despite even the company's founders' discouraging investments, Xerox's revolutionary product defied expectations and soared, reaching revenues of $500 million in just 6 years. During its period of success, Xerox displayed its confidence with considerable investments in philanthropy. The company's desire to give back and influence society was evident through its support for the University of Rochester, helping develop photocopying technology, and spending $4 million to defend the United Nations against public criticism from right-wing politicians in 1964. However, success can be fleeting, as Xerox discovered when its fortunes reversed in 1965. Its technology lead was eroded by competitors producing cheaper alternatives, and new research and development investments failed to deliver results. Stuck in a precarious situation, the company found itself in the challenging third stage of growth. Xerox's story is a prime example of the potential volatility growth companies may face. Fortunately, Xerox managed to weather the storm of the third stage and continues to thrive today. Through innovation, philanthropy, and resilience, Xerox has navigated the complexities of the growth process and solidified its success in the long run. Saving Ira Haupt Co. In 1963, Ira Haupt Co., a brokerage firm trading on the New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, faced a severe financial crisis due to a massive commercial fraud. The firm had bought non-existent cottonseed and soybean oil and used the warehouse receipts as collateral for bank loans. In the midst of national panic following President Kennedy's assassination, the NYSE took an unprecedented step to rescue Ira Haupt Co., believing that its bankruptcy could result in a market crash and harm the nation's welfare. By collaborating with other firms and creditors, the NYSE was able to help the brokerage pay back its debts, preventing a financial crisis during a highly volatile time. The GE price-fixing scandal. In the late 1950s, General Electric, GE, was embroiled in a price-fixing scandal, involving 29 electronics companies and over $1.75 billion. Instead of admitting guilt, the higher-level executives at GE attributed the problem to communication errors, stating that middle managers misinterpreted their instructions. This case offers a glimpse into how executives can claim communication problems to avoid responsibility for illegal actions. When General Electric, GE, was found to be the mastermind behind a massive price-fixing scandal in the late 1950s, they cleverly avoided taking responsibility by using an age-old excuse: communication problems. The scandal saw 29 electronics companies colluding to fix prices of $1.75 billion worth of machinery, with much of the cost being passed on to the customers. Despite the fines and prison sentences meted out to middle managers, none of the higher-level executives faced charges. Their reason? Communication errors between different levels of management. During that time, there were two types of policies at GE: official and implied policies. When instructions were given with a straight face, they were considered official policies. However, if an executive winked while providing instructions, it was up to the receiver to interpret the implications. Misinterpreting these signals could result in serious problems for the middle managers. In this particular case, GE had a policy that prohibited discussing prices with competitors. Yet, many managers believed it to be a front and not a genuine rule. It wasn't until they found themselves in court for price fixing that they learned they couldn't pin the blame on upper management. The fallout of the GE price-fixing scandal sheds light on the artful use of communication problems as a way for executives to escape responsibility for illegal activities. This tale serves as a cautionary reminder that sometimes, the instructions given, or in this instance, the winks, may not be as innocent as they seem. The Piggly Wiggly Showdown. Piggly Wiggly, an innovative supermarket chain, found itself in a tumultuous battle in the 1920s. Its eccentric owner, Clarence Saunders, nearly succeeded in defying Wall Street investors who sought to profit from the company's misfortunes. Ultimately, financial pressures took their toll, impacting the company's legacy and prevalence in the modern world. Pioneering the concept of self-service supermarkets in 1917, Piggly Wiggly introduced shopping carts, price tags, and checkout stands to the world. Although still in operation today, it remains relatively obscure due to its headstrong leader, Clarence Saunders, and his crusade against financial speculation. The 1920s saw a rapid expansion for Piggly Wiggly across the United States. Yet, when a couple of New York franchises stumbled in 1923, opportunistic investors launched a bear raid, intentionally driving down stock prices for personal profit. They claimed the company's entire future hinged on these failures. Infuriated, Saunders set out to teach Wall Street a lesson by attempting to corner Piggly Wiggly's stock and buy back the majority of shares. He came extraordinarily close. Publicly announcing his intentions, Saunders borrowed heavily and acquired 98% of the stock. Consequently, the stock price rocketed from $39 to $124 per share, causing potential ruin for the bear raiders. However, the raiders cunningly persuaded the stock exchange to grant an extension for settling their losses. This left Saunders burdened with debt, unable to maintain his position. Ultimately, his financial woes led him to declare bankruptcy. If Saunders had wielded more influence over the stock exchange, today's shoppers might be frequenting Piggly Wiggly supermarkets, instead of relying on big box stores like Walmart. The daring actions of this enigmatic figure serve as a vivid reminder of the importance of innovation and determination, as well as the perils of excessive pride and debt. Dual success, public servant and entrepreneur. David Lilienthal excelled in both government positions and the business world, demonstrating that it is possible for one person to make lasting positive impacts in both realms. After serving under President Roosevelt, leading the Tennessee Valley Authority, and acting as the first chairman of the Atomic Energy Commission, Lilienthal entered the private sector with an honest motive of supporting his family. He successfully turned around a failing minerals and chemical corporation of America and later wrote a controversial book on the importance of big business. This transition led to accusations of being a sellout, but Lilienthal's dedication to both sides of the coin was apparent when he founded the Development and Resources Corporation, which helped developing countries with major public works programs. By balancing these pursuits, Lilienthal proved that a commitment to both shareholders and humanity can lead to significant achievements. Unleashing shareholder power. Who truly holds the reins in American corporations? Ideally, it should be the stockholders. They possess considerable influence over major corporations as they elect the board of directors and vote on policies. Despite this, most shareholders remain passive, allowing company management to pull the strings unchallenged. However, when shareholders actively engage and challenge management decisions, true power can be directed towards positive corporate change. Stockholders, the owners of America's largest corporations, have the potential to wield an immense amount of power in society. Some even argue that America resembles an oligarchic feudal system more than a democracy due to the influence of these economic giants. To harness this influence, shareholders have the right to elect a board of directors, vote on policies, and participate in annual meetings where questions can be raised about the company's operations. Yet, even with such power in their hands, many shareholders' meetings turn out to be mere spectacles, a far cry from the solemn, significant events they are meant to be. Company management, not truly considering the shareholders their superiors, makes it challenging for them to participate effectively in meetings. They hold meetings in distant locations and drone on about the company's fantastic performance and prospects, effectively sidelining stockholders. However, not all shareholders are placid. Some professional investors, like Wilma Saas in the 1965 AT&T shareholders meeting, confronted the board and sparked constructive debate. Saas, who held stock in numerous companies, sought to increase female representation on the board of directors. Yet, stirring such enthusiasm among otherwise content shareholders, lulled by regular dividends, is no easy task. In an ideal world, shareholders would frequently exercise their power to keep company management accountable and successful. Through active engagement, the true potential of stockholder influence can be unlocked, challenging an otherwise unassailable company management and steering organizations towards meaningful change. Pursuing opportunities with freedom. Picture yourself receiving a tantalizing job offer from a rival company, seemingly ready and set to accept it. However, did you know there was a time when your right to switch jobs so freely wasn't guaranteed? Think Donald Wolgemuth, a research scientist, whose legal battle in the 1960s set the precedent for employee freedom today. Wolgemuth's groundbreaking court case centered on confidentiality agreements, as he faced legal issues when he decided to switch from B.F. Goodrich to International Latex amidst the exciting space race era. Ultimately, the court sided with Wolgemuth, granting him the liberty to change employers, proving a major win for employees everywhere. In 1962, amidst the wild race to the moon, the market for space-related products was rapidly expanding. Donald Wolgemuth, a research scientist, was in charge of the space suit engineering department at B.F. Goodrich Company, the frontrunner in space suit production. However, when the company lost the coveted Apollo project contract to International Latex, Wolgemuth's career underwent a critical turning point. Receiving a tempting offer to work on the Apollo project from International Latex with more responsibility and a lucrative salary, Wolgemuth eagerly accepted. His previous employer, B.F. Goodrich, grew fearful that Wolgemuth would reveal confidential space suit production secrets. Consequently, after considering the confidentiality agreement Wolgemuth had signed, B.F. Goodrich decided to sue him. This sensational case raised two thought-provoking questions. Could a person be assumed guilty if they had never broken an agreement or indicated they might? And, should a person be restricted from pursuing a job that could tempt them towards criminal activity? In a revolutionary decision, the judge ruled that Wolgemuth could not be found guilty preemptively and was therefore free to work with International Latex. Wolgemuth's case established the foundation for similar rulings in the future and ultimately became a significant victory for employee rights, ensuring that generations to come could pursue their job opportunities unshackled. Defending the prestigious pound. In the 1960s, the British pound sterling was among the most esteemed global currencies. However, in 1964, financial speculators began betting against the pound due to Britain's large trade deficit and doubts about the country's ability to maintain fixed exchange rates established during the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944. As a result, central bankers worldwide, led by the U.S. Federal Reserve, united to defend the pound and the international monetary exchange system by buying pounds to counter devaluation. Despite initial success, persistent attacks on the currency continued until 1967, when the alliance could no longer afford to purchase more pounds and Britain was forced to devalue the currency by over 14%. This event highlighted the eventual collapse of the Bretton Woods system in 1971 and exposed inherent flaws in attempting to uphold fixed exchange rates.
In Our Business Adventures, John Brooks exposes the human side of the world's most powerful financial institutions, revealing the flaws, miscommunications, and successes that punctuate these thrilling stories. By sharing tales of unprecedented risks, emotional decision-making, and unforeseen consequences, Brooks sheds light on the inherent unpredictability of the market, and how the mood and individual choices shape the course of financial history. While the stories contained in Our Business Adventures may be firmly rooted in the past, their wisdom continues to offer valuable insights to the ever-evolving financial landscape of today, reminding us that the most complex of ventures is still governed by the intricacies of human nature.